In this lesson, we're going to take a deeper look at the request mapping annotation, and we're going to see how we can configure the annotation to provide us with finer grained control of our request mappings. We're aware that we can use the request mapping annotation to map a segment of a URL's path to a particular controller method. So here, for example, we have used the request mapping annotation to map /project/add to the add project controller method. And this is actually the value element of the request mapping annotation. If we were to create another method, so I'm just going to duplicate this method and then give it another name. Let's say save project. Here you'll see that it has the same mapping as our add project method. If we received a request with the URL /project/add, the dispatcher servlet could not discern which of these methods to invoke. What we can do is we can provide some additional information within the request mapping annotation. There is a method element within the annotation, and it takes a type of request method. We can specify that the add project method will be invoked if it is a GET request, and the save project method will be invoked if it is a POST request. And using this, we can discern between these two methods. So I'm just going to provide a little bit of debugging here. We're going to say invoking add project. Now we're going to, within the save project, do the same thing, except we're going to say invoking save project. And this will help us see in our demonstration what's happening. If we look at our project add.jsp file, you're going to see within this file, the forms action has been set to /project/add. It's using the post as the method to submit this action. And then we know that within our header.jsp file, the project menu item has the add option beneath it, and that is also mapped to /projects/add. However, that's going to be a GET request. Let's run our demonstration. I'm just going to head to the Package Explorer, and then I'm going to hit Shift-Alt-X and then R. And that's going to start our server. There we see our console. Pretty soon the application will get kicked off. And here it is. Let's head back to STS. And I want to go to the console because that's going to display our debugging output. And I'm just going to clear it just so it's a little bit easier to see. And now we're going to first navigate to projects add. So we're going to invoke that URL. And there we see invoking add project. And now I'm simply going to submit the form. And when I submit the form, we see invoking save project. We were able to discern which mapping the dispatcher servlet should use by providing that additional information about the type of request being processed. Let's look at another approach. So if we return to the project add.jsp file, one of the things that you'll see is that we have this drop-down that allows us to specify the project type as either single or multi-year. And you'll see that it will submit the value single or the value multiple for the parameter type when we post the form. If we head back to our project controller, we're going to set up a request mapping that will discern which controller method will handle the request based upon the value of that type parameter. So I'm just going to duplicate this method. Once again, I'll need to give it a new name, and I'm going to call the duplicated method save multi-year project, and I'm going to change our debugging up, invoking multi-year project. And now what I'm going to do is within our request mapping annotation, I'm going to use the params element, and this takes a array of strings, and I'm just going to specify that type is equal to multi. Now any request that comes in with the type parameter set to the value multi should be handled by the save multi-year project. So I'm going to save this, and then I'm just going to restart our server, and then I'll head back to the application, And we'll come back into the form so it renders again. And now I'm just going to indicate this is a multi-year project, and I will submit our form. There we see that we invoked the save multi-year project method as opposed to the save project method on the controller. For our final demonstration, we're going to take a look at how we can pick our method based upon just the presence of a parameter. For example, I'm going to duplicate our method one more time. I'm just going to call this save special project. We're going to expand upon this array being provided to the params element, and we're just going to add the parameter special. Now we don't provide a value because we're only checking for the presence of this parameter. And then I'll change our console output up. Once again, I'll go and restart our project. And once it's restarted, I will head to our browser so we can run the demonstration. I'll hit the URL again. Now I'm going to pick a multi-year project, and then I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to specify that this is a special project. This will submit a parameter special, and it doesn't even matter what the value is. If we go to look at the console output, there we see it invoked the save special project because we had specified that if it has the parameter special and that's submitted, then go ahead and invoke this method. Now obviously it needed to be of type multi-year, and it also needed to be a post. So you can see really how granular we can make our specification of the decision to pick a controller method. This is good to know when you want to use some different approaches to direct the dispatcher servlet for how to route a particular request to a controller method.